Hello students. Now that we are familiar with basic classification of flows, it's time to go ahead in the concepts and talk about velocity distribution and correction factors across the cross section of a channel. Now let us consider a simple case where we have a rectangular channel, and of course the top of this rectangular channel is exposed to atmosphere and it is surrounded by materials or some surface on the three sides, and as a result of which there would be some shear forces acting along this surface and so on, and on top we may have some winds velocity that may be acting and resulting in generation of some drag forces. Now, since the magnitude of forces is different as we go upward in the cross section, that would essentially mean that the velocities should also be different at different points in a given cross section. And that's indeed what we have observed experimentally also. So if we plot the velocity with height, we see that the velocity is almost zero at the bed and it increases, and then at the top it is slightly lesser than the maximum velocity or Vmax we would have. Now when we look into this variation in velocity, if we calculate certain properties across the cross section, for example, in Bernoulli's equation, we typically use the term called as velocity head. And this velocity head is square of velocity divided by 2g. Now that velocity is varying throughout these cross section, and we are not dealing with one dimensional flow anymore, because we would be dealing with cross sections which may have few hundred meters to few kilometers of flow. The important question arises, which velocity should we use? Should we use the average velocity of this entire cross section, that is Vm, and use that Vm to calculate this Vm square by 2g, or we calculate the velocities at many points? Let us say there are n points and we say that it is V1 square plus V2 square plus V3 square by 2g and so on. If we have n points here, so it would be Vn square by 2g divided by n. So this will also represent some mean properties associated with the velocity head, but here we are calculating the velocities at n different points. On the other hand, our V mean can simply be total flow that we are observing divided by cross sectional area, and you can easily calculate Vm as V1 plus V2 plus V3 all the way till Vn divided by n, where you calculate the velocities individually, take its mean, which is equivalent to saying that it can also be computed by average discharge divided by total cross sectional area. Now you can clearly imagine, if we calculate Vm using these two formula 1 and 2, values are going to be essentially different because the numerators in these terms are not going to be same. Second thing is that if we are concerned about more accurate descriptions, so more accurate description of velocity head would come if we calculate these velocity heads at infinitely many points, and then if we are interested in averaging or understanding spread or variance, we can easily look into the statistical attributes of this n samples that we have collected across the cross section. However, doing this in real world is going to be difficult. What is going to be easier is that we compute the average velocity and use it to perform various calculations. And as you can imagine, when we talk about velocity, velocity has important say in calculation of energy. It also has important say in calculation of momentum. If we know energy, we can calculate energy per unit time. We can calculate momentum flux per unit time. Now, the question arises that if we use less accurate description in comparison to more accurate description at the expense of ease of doing calculations, we are going to apply some correction factors. And this is exactly what we are going to derive in this lecture. And we will derive one energy correction factor, which we call as alpha, and second parameter that we will calculate would be momentum correction factor, which is going to be beta. So Let us look into the mathematical aspects of it. So we will consider a cross section which is having some level of flow here, and let us consider an infinitesimally small element, cross sectional element across this channel cross section which has area of dA. If we talk about kinetic energy that is flowing through this cross section, it is simply half mv square. If we talk about kinetic energy per unit time, we can write this mass as rho dA into length perpendicular to this plane of paper multiply by v square. And since we are interested per unit time, we will introduce time unit t. And this L by T is nothing, but it is again velocity, flow velocity across the section. So Ke per unit time now can be written as half rho V cube dA. If we use the mean velocity to calculate this Ke per unit time, this expression simply becomes half rho V mean cube dA. Now this is less accurate description of kinetic energy per unit time because we are just using one representative value for entire cross section, although there are a lot of variations in the velocity, and we say that this is Ke mean time per unit time and just using mean velocity. On the other hand, we can also look at individual points and say that let us assume that velocity varies with the area. So in that case, Ke per unit time would be given by half rho V cube dA. And here, if we integrate this expression of V cube dA, if we assume that our velocity is function of area itself, we can integrate it over dA. And this will give us more accurate representation, albeit hard to measure quantity in terms of Ke per unit time, but using the exact variations that are happening in velocities. And when we have to look for the correction factor, we simply say that it should be equation 2 upon equation 1. That means more realistic description comes in numerator, which is half rho V cube dA. And since this was through a small element dA, we can integrate it to look for entire cross-sectional area, and this will give us the Ke per unit time using mean velocity. So in denominator, we are going to have half rho Vm cube dA, assuming that our flow is incompressible, because that's why we have brought this rho outside our equation, and these will go away. So our alpha simply becomes V cube dA divided by Vm cube dA. Now, this correction factor can also be thought of in terms of a particular cross section of channel. Let us say that we have a cross section of channel, and there are three distinct regions that are present in this cross section: region 1, region 2, and region 3. We know velocity in region 1 as V1, region 2 as V2, and region 3 is V3. If we have to calculate alpha in this case, what we are going to do, simply we will say that we need to understand what is V cube dA in numerator, and in denominator we need to understand that what is the value of dA, and average velocity simply becomes Vm cube. Now Vm is nothing but V1A1 plus V2A2 plus V3A3 divided by A1 plus A2 plus A3. If we know the cross-sectional areas here is as A1, A2 and A3, you can clearly imagine this as some weighted averaging that we are doing of velocity. Now, if we talk about dA, integration of dA is summation of dA is equivalent to summation of dA if we discretize this cross section, which again is simply A1 plus A2 plus A3. So we have basically calculated our expression for Vm cube, as well as we have calculated our expression for dA. Now, when we talk about V cube dA, let us look into that how our expression looks like. Now, in top section, we can write V cube dA as V1 cube A1, assuming that within this cross section our velocity is just V1, plus V2 cube A2 plus V3 cube A3, and in denominator we are going to have this term as so this will talk separately as alpha, but with this becomes our V cube dA. And if we have to look at alpha, we can write it as V cube dA divided by Vm and integration of dA. And now you already know the values of V cube dA here, integration of dA here, and integration and the value of Vm here. And as soon as we substitute everything, we get our expression as V1 cube A1 plus V2 cube A2 plus V3 cube A3 divided by V1 A1 plus V2 A2 plus V3 A3, its cube, because here we have the expression, we have to use Vm cube. That's where this would become cube of the numerator in Vm, and multiply by summation of areas and its square. So this is how we can interpret this alpha if we just look at cross section and relatively simpler distribution. If we really know that how this velocity is varying with respect to depth, we can use the exact analytical expression and again arrive at alpha. But ultimately we have to keep in mind that what this alpha is, what are the terms in numerator and what is the term in denominator, which happens to be two integrals. In one case v is inside, in another case we are taking Vm, assuming that it's an average velocity or representative velocity taken as a constant throughout a channel section. Now, as we did our analysis with energy correction factors, we can introduce our another correction factor which is known as busyness coefficient or beta. It is basically ratio of more accurate description of momentum per unit time divided by average description of momentum per unit time. If we remember this in this term, we don't have to remember beta and alpha separately. Now what we will do, if you look at expression of momentum, it is simply P equal to mv. We can write this m as volume of cross section, area into length into velocity multiplied by density. If we are talking about momentum per unit time, we will introduce term of time here. So this again becomes velocity. So it becomes rho a v square. If we are talking about flow through an infinitesimally small element of area, our dp upon dt or rate change of momentum per unit time through that section dA essentially becomes rho v square dA. And if we are interested to look into the total change of momentum per unit time through cross section A, it simply becomes the integral over entire cross section, which is rho v square dA. Similarly, we can calculate the momentum average rate change of momentum with respect to time for that entire cross section using average velocity as Vm square rho dA. So this is here I should not use it in integral notation. We are saying P per unit time, and here we are saying P per unit time over cross section A, and that's where this integral is coming. And again, if we have to calculate this ratio beta, we would simply say that it is V square dA divided by integration dA, but here we will have Vm square, rho would come out and it will cancel if we are talking about incompressible flow, and this becomes our expression for momentum correction factor. Now if we talk about the values of these momentum correction factor, the values of momentum correction factor as well as energy correction factor, they are generally greater than 1, and in case our dominant flow is turbulent flow, the values typically lie in a range of 1.05 to 1.15, and in absence of any information we take the value of alpha and beta equal to unity if we know that flow is turbulent and we are not sure about the exact properties of channel section and what is the exact description of variation of velocities. The reason we introduce these alphas and beta is because when we go to Reynolds transportation theorem, we will try to write everything in terms of average velocities. And to have accurate description of momentum, we will multiply it with the momentum correction factor so that we are in one way or another accounting for the non-uniform distribution of velocities across the channel section. So with this, let us look into another example, and here the example is that the velocity distribution in a channel section is given by some analytical expression v equal to v naught y upon y naught raised to power n, where v naught is velocity at y naught. So this gives us boundary condition, and we can assume that this is at top. So at top we have the depth of flow as y naught, and v naught is the velocity at top of the channel. So remember the distribution we had. So if this is y naught, we know v naught. We have to determine the values of alpha and beta. So as I mentioned, if we have to calculate alpha, we need to look into v cube dA divided by dA and Vm cube. And if we have to look at beta, we have to look at v square dA divided by Vm square dA. So first step should be to look into value of Vm. If we talk about average velocity is nothing but v1a1 plus v2a2 divided by a1 plus a2 plus an, as we looked into that simple example with cross section. If we have to write it in analytical form, cannot we write it as vda divided by da, and in discrete form it again becomes v1a1 plus v2a2 divided by a1 plus a2 and so on. If we assume that depth or the breadth of our channel section is unity, we can simply write this as v into b into dy divided by b into dy. We will again take integral, but now our integral will go from 0 to y naught, 0 to y naught, and we already know that velocity v is related to depth and y in a form of v equal to v naught into y upon y naught raised to power n. This gives us our average velocity across the cross section as v naught into y upon y naught dy divided by integration 0 to y naught dy. Now I'm not going to solve this integral for you, but I am writing the exact expression. So we end up with our average velocity as v naught divided by n plus 1. So our alpha now can be worked out as integration from 0 to y naught. V cube is v naught into y upon y naught. We have n, so this entire thing raised to power 3 into dy divided by v naught into n plus 1, its cube, integration from 0 to y naught into dy. And when you solve this particular integral, which again is a very straightforward integral to solve, because here we would have integral of y raised to power n, which would be y into n plus 1 divided by n, and integration of dy would be simply y, and we will just substitute the limits. Our expression for alpha comes out to be n plus 1 cube divided by 3n plus 1. Similarly, if we have to look into calculation of beta, we can write beta as v square dA divided by Vm dA, and its square here. You have already calculated the expression for Vm, take its square, and you already know the expression of v, and this integral is going to be even simpler than what we had before. So your final answer, which again I would leave up to you to derive, should have a form n plus 1 square divided by 2n plus 1. So with this, we have developed an understanding that why we need these correction factors and how we would use it in Reynolds transportation theorem would ultimately become clear when we go to our module 2 that would deal with conservation laws. In next video, we are going to discuss one of the most important aspect of open channel flow, which is pressure distribution along gently and steep sloped channel sections. Thank you.